This Red Sox Braves series is brought to you by Jeep, the most awarded SUV lineup ever. And tonight from Turner Field in Atlanta, the sleep-deprived Red Sox visit the Braves, looking for their second straight series win. A quick 2-game set here, but then 2 more coming up at Fenway Park with the Braves. Welcome to Atlanta. Great to have you with us, everyone. I'm Dave O'Brien. My partner is Steve Lyons. And Steve, the Red Sox did not get to their Atlanta area hotel till about 5:30 this morning. Obviously, last night was a very big night for the bullpen, a very long night for the bullpen. It did come through in the end in a 12-inning win, and that means there's even more pressure on Rick Porcello to do what he's been doing and go deep in the game.
Yeah, and it was a huge win last night. Make no mistake about that. They needed that victory. Now Porcello takes the mound. He understands what he has to do here to get this team another win. He's got to go deep, but that's exactly what he's been doing. And, hey, don't look now because Rick Porcello is 3-0 on the season, and he goes at least 6 almost every time he goes out there. Now, you need at least that from him in tonight's ball game, but he's been able to do that. He's been able to mix his pitches a lot better. He's not just the sinker baller that he used to be or the high four-seam rider guy that he tried to be last year, mixing all his pitches, and that's doing very well for him.
Yep, perfect 3-0 as you mentioned, and taking on an Atlanta team that has the worst record in Major League Baseball. He has a chance to be 4-0. The Red Sox did send him ahead so he could get some additional rest and was not one of those who arrived at 5:30 this morning. So the Red Sox trying to get rolling here against the Atlanta Braves. First of 4 against the Bravos when we come back. Website for deals. By Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. By Subaru Retailers of New England, supplying award-winning all-wheel drive vehicles throughout New England. By DraftKings, the official one-day fantasy baseball partner of your Boston Red Sox. By the 2017 Kia Sportage, visit nekiadealers.com to learn more. And by Southwest Airlines, transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Time to toss it down to Garen Austin. Garen, some changes in the lineup in this National League Park tonight.
That's right, OB. Both David Ortiz and Hanley Ramirez are out of the lineup tonight, with Travis Shaw playing first and Josh Rutledge in at third. Here's manager John Farrell had to say what went behind that decision.
5:30 arrival tonight, this morning at the hotel. Hanley had been in every game and was trying to find a spot for him. David as well, just trying to keep everybody involved and certainly get some fresh legs on the field today. But you know, that's a difficult travel schedule, and went with the lineup we've got tonight.
All right, so the decision's made by John Farrell. Pretty night for baseball. It's the last year of Turner Field, and it's the Sox and the Braves when we come back for Game 1 here on NESN. Baseball on NESN is brought to you by Digital Federal Credit Union. See what DCU can save you. By T-Mobile, get Major League coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the past year. And by buyatoyota.com, Toyota's website for deals. Red Sox taking on the Atlanta Braves here in the National League City. And then back up to Fenway after these two. Time for a look at the Red Sox lineup, which is brought to you by buyatoyota.com, Toyota's website for deals. Mookie Betts couldn't be any hotter. He's in right field. Dustin Pedroia at second, right on his heels. Xander Bogaerts at short. Travis Shaw at first and batting fourth tonight. Josh Rutledge in there at third base with Brock Holton left. Jackie Bradley in center. Christian Vasquez doing the catching. Rick Porcello will bat for himself as he hits ninth. And look at tonight's starter for Atlanta, Julio Teheran. He is 0-2 with a 5.64 ERA. He's actually off to the worst start of his career. He was their opening day starting pitcher, 25 years old from Colombia.
And let's check into the Braves defense, and it's brought to you by DraftKings. At third base, Garcia leading this team with 6 errors. Castro at short, Peterson at second base, and Freddie Freeman playing first base. In the outfield, Jeff Francoeur back home in Atlanta playing left field instead of right. Smith's in center and Markakis in right field. And there's your battery. Pierzynski looking for one more hit to 2,000 in his career, and Teheran on the mound.
Tonight's umpires are brought to you by ToyotaCertified.com. Mark Ripperger, he is the home plate umpire. Joe West at first, Kerwin Danley at second, Andy Fletcher at third. Search for your factory back Toyota certified used vehicle right now. We're available. This telecast can be heard in Spanish by selecting the SAP button on your TV remote. SAP presented by ToyotaCertified.com. Search for your factory back Toyota certified used vehicle right now. It's good to know the factory has your back. As mentioned, a very nice night, 76 degrees. Tonight's weather brought to you by Benjamin Moore, the official paint of the Boston Red Sox. Steve, the last go around for Turner Field.
That, you know, it's nice. Sometimes we get mad at the schedule makers because there's been a lot of home games in Boston where it's been really cold. But it's really nice to get to go through Houston and through Atlanta before the brutal humidity of the summer starts. Great night tonight.
Mookie Betts to lead things off now. The Red Sox have scored in the first inning in 5 consecutive games. Looking to keep that trend going here tonight here in Georgia. Sox coming in right at 500 at 9-9. Check swing and it's inside, and we are underway. Mookie had a terrific series in Houston. He had 7 hits. Deep short, tough play. Castro with a long throw, but on target, just nipped it. A lot of talk about this infield here and how it is playing unevenly. The Dodgers complained about it quite a bit while they were here.
Well, no problem making that play. That was a fantastic play by Castro, knowing that Betts is headed down the line there. I think the problem is that early in the season, the grass grows very unevenly here. Some of it's long, some of it's short. Even if you try to mow it, it doesn't really even out. You can only cut it so short, and these infields are very, very fast.
Dustin Pedroia really cooking with the bat right now. He'll take ball one and average up to 321. He's hitting 5 straight. He went 7 for 16 against the Astros in Houston. We have seen Petey get hot, stay hot for a long time before, and the count goes to 2-0. I was talking with Freddie Gonzalez, their manager, about the infield, and he said, look, when Andrelton Simmons, who's now at the Angels before he was traded, when he was here, he won Gold Gloves.
Didn't have
platinum
too many problems, did he?
Did not seem to have as many problems as everybody else is having right now. In for a called strike. Some have indicated, oh, they're just letting it go to seed because it's the last year of Turner Field. They're going to move to a brand new park next year. That is not happening.
Yeah, last I checked, the lawnmowers weren't on their way up to Cobb County in the new stadium already, are they?
The 2-1 to Pedroia. Punch foul out of play to the right.
I think it's a little bit insulting too to Ed Magnan, who's been the long-time groundskeeper down here and has done an excellent job over the years. But you can see how the grass is uneven, and that's just because of the way it grows at this time of the year. Some of it's a little longer. It's a little clumpy almost. Clumpy, is that a word?
You may have just made one up, but I like it.
Sounds good for the situation, though, doesn't it?
Let's call the folks at Webster's. Swung on and missed. That was a good rising heater to get him, and it's 2 up, 2 down here in the first inning. Teheran typically a sinker ball guy, throws about 93. The upper end fastball has an excellent curveball, slider, changeup. His command can be spotty, and that's when he gets into big trouble.
He's had a lot of problems this season with that two-seam fastball leaking back out over the plate. If he's trying to go to one side of the plate or the other, he hasn't been able to get it there, and he's been getting mashed.
Xander Bogaerts sitting out of the 3 slot. He takes a strike. David Ortiz and Hanley Ramirez both out of the lineup tonight as they rest. That is a phrase on the lips of most of the Red Sox. Rest. But when does it hit you, though? I mean, when you come in at like 5:30 in the morning.
Tomorrow.
Not today.
Yeah, I think today, that's been my history in games like this in my 30 years in the game. It's today you feel okay. Tomorrow it whacks you a little bit.
Lunging, and he popped it up. The catcher, Przinsky, and yes, that is A.J. Przinsky, the former Red Sox, and he drops it up against the railing. Well, A.J. getting a start tonight behind the plate. He's going to be 40 in November.
I think it's kind of funny right there. After he does muff this one and it hits the wall, he still goes back and tries to catch it again. Like right now, it doesn't count anymore, right?
As if it's a live ball. Dead by then, AJ.
Yep, no, it's not going to work.
That is an error. So they will charge him with an E2. Been a really fine hitter throughout his career. As you mentioned, he's right on the doorstep of 2,000 hits.
That amazes me.
There's a high fly ball, dead away center. Smith racing back. Oh, he runs it down and then slams into the fence. That really took off, but so did he. He can go and get it. And the Red Sox wind up going 1-2-3. Coming to bat, the Atlanta Braves here in the first inning. After a half inning, the Sox starting pitcher presented by your New England Audi dealers. It is Rick Porcello. He's 3-0 and taking the mound at Turner Field for the first time in his career. Looking to extend the best start of his career tonight. And just as important, take the heat off an overtaxed bullpen, which he has been able to do. Is Nick Markakis stepping in and taking a strike. He's their right fielder. And you'll remember him from his Baltimore days. He spent 9 seasons there with the Orioles. Always a good major league hitter, and he's hitting .303. But this is an offense that really scuffles to score. Steve, they have not hit a home run in 13 games.
Longest stretch for an Atlanta organization team since 1983. Goodness.
You're talking about over 500 at-bats as a team since they last hit one. High twisting fly into left center, but is Brock Holt into the alley. One man out. The Braves lineup brought to you by New England Chevy dealers. A lot of names you don't know. Daniel Castro at short. Adonis Garcia at third. You know A.J. Pierzynski and probably Jeff Francoeur, who's back with them. Freddie Freeman's their best hitter, but he's only hitting 177. Jace Peterson at second. Malik Smith is in center. He just made that fine running catch. And Teheran is the pitcher and batting ninth. Here's Castro. He's the shortstop. He's hitting .343. Some of the averages are a bit high, but the RBIs and home runs are nowhere.
Yeah, and this is a guy who didn't start the season in the big leagues. Has hit safely in every game he's played in since his recall.
Late cut there. He came up empty.
Yeah, you know, my favorite thing to say is I believe that if you get 10 hits, you should win a ball game. This team has averaged 10 hits a game over the last 5. They're the best team in the National League with hitting with runners in scoring position, and yet they still don't score enough runs to win.
4 and 14.
They hit .319 with runners in scoring position. They've won 4 games.
1-2 to Castro, hammered foul. They're going to be moving into a brand new SunTrust Park north of the city next year. Fans, be sure to stop by Plainridge Park Casino. Plainridge Park Casino is the official sponsor of winning. They've been here for 20 years at Turner Field, and a long legacy of winning here. A dive and a snatch by Rutledge. He's up and gunning and got him. That's a terrific play. Cat quick. We talk about being ready to go right out of the chute.
Well, let's talk about the entire defensive team out there, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. There's Rutledge, made the fine play right there. Bogey at short. Petey over at second base, and Travis Shaw make an appearance at first. Out in the outfield, there they are. You're used to seeing those guys now. Holt, Bradley Jr., and Betts. Vasquez doing the catching today. Rick Porcello looking for another stellar start on the mound.
Garcia takes one a little bit high. How about this stab by Josh Rutledge at third?
So tough to be able to dive and short hop a ball at the same time. I mean, you're guessing where to put your glove at that point. Really nice.
If the Red Sox get consistent pitching, they're getting terrific defense on a regular basis, scoring 5 runs a game, which is number 1 in the American League on average. Comes back to the men on the mound. And if they deliver, this team has a serious chance to get rolling. There's a base hit by Garcia as he knocks one right through the hole and becomes the first man to reach tonight for Atlanta. Adonis Garcia, he's their third baseman. And now comes A.J. Pierzynski. A.J. in his 17th major league season. When will it come to an end? Well, he'll be 40 in December. And was, of course, briefly a member of the Red Sox back in 2014 for 72 games.
It'll come to an end when every team gets tired of the incessant talking from Pierzynski.
2 down. He fouls that one back, but I mean, he's right there. His next hit will be the 2000th of his career. So a lot of people have AJ stories. The Red Sox do as well. And a lot of them have to do with just how much he talks in the clubhouse. But he's been a really fine hitter for a long time.
Outstanding offensive catcher for a really long time. Certainly started with his years in Minnesota. Made a name for himself and hit the ball.
I mean, even last year, Steve played for Atlanta. He hit 300 for the Braves.
Didn't for the Red Sox, but you know, guys move on. They play better other places. Talking about 2,000 hits. It's a tremendous accomplishment in this game.
Knocked foul, especially for a catcher.
You spend all day getting beat up.
and you don't play every day. He's been with 7 different clubs now: the Twins, the Giants, the White Sox, Texas, the Red Sox, St. Louis, and now Atlanta. As a runner at first base and 2 down, no score first inning. Gets a piece of that one.
It's a good pitch right there. Brzezinski's been a little bit behind the fastball. We've talked about Porcello being able to run a 4-seamer a little bit higher in the zone. That's what he tried to do right there. He's got the sinking fastball where he can get ground balls. You see Brzezinski looking at his hand. That hand came flying off of the bat during the middle of that swing. That's not a good thing to have happen to you.
Jeff Francoeur on deck.
Got a lot of weapons you can use in this count for Porcello. I think I'd run that 4-seamer up in the zone again. See if I could get him to swing through it. Could throw a changeup down and away. There's the changeup.
Diving just low, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Porcello delivered big time last Wednesday. It was the day after Joe Kelly went on the DL, forcing John Farrell to use 6 relievers. Very similar story last night.
Yeah.
2-2. Henry Owens going short and putting a lot of heat on the bullpen.
And no bullpen moves really to get any help. And now it really puts an extra strain on John Farrell, because now you're playing National League Baseball where there generally are more moves, double switches, pinch hits with the pitcher in the game.
Line shot toward the alley on the move. Mookie Betts giving chase, and he makes the play. Well, of course he does. He's doing everything offensively and defensively. Nesson is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Mookie Betts taking off like a shot and running that down. Actually made that play look fairly easy, fairly routine for him.
And those guys are talking over how they did it too. A lot of times in the outfield, you'll see the center fielder cut off the corner outfielders, giving him the better opportunity to catch the ball, and the corner outfielders back up. But in this instance, Mookie had the best opportunity to catch it, so he's going to go towards the ball and cut it off, and Jackie is the backup guy in case it gets over his head. Excellent defense by both of those guys, and a lot of communication, not only out in the outfield, but now in the dugout, talking about the way they make the plays.
Ask Mookie in the clubhouse, how much you sleep? Did you get enough? He said 6 hours. We'll find out if it's enough.
It's enough to run that one down.
I think the answer is yes. In there for a strikeout, Travis Shaw underway here in the second inning. No score. Travis at .333 with a homer and 9 runs batted in. Shows bunt, pops it foul, back out of play.
It is surprising when you think of the decision that John Farrell has to make in a National League game where the pitcher has to hit for himself. Who's going to play first base? Kind of thought that maybe Ortiz would sit out today, but you'd see Hanley at first, but both of them have the day off, and Shaw's over there.
Red Sox have actually been very successful when Big Papi has been at first base in National League parks. I know you saw the number earlier today. And down goes Travis on a cut and a miss. Tehran with a second strikeout. Red Sox are 47-23 in National League parks since the 03 season with David Ortiz at first base.
What's wrong with that?
Resting tonight, Josh Rutledge in the game. We just saw him make a tremendous play at third base. And Hanley resting as well. Pretty good bench available.
Yes, you do. John Farrell's like maybe begging for pinch hit opportunities in this game at some point in time.
Rutledge off to a nice start with a bat, 3 for 5. Maybe turning into a very valuable pinch hitter himself as he takes one up and in for a ball.
He's done a great job. When they called him up here, it didn't even make a ripple. You know, it was like, who? You know, did anyone really even notice? But every time he's gotten in the game, he's done something well. He's made a great defensive play. Gives you a good at bat.
Woo! Brock Holt on deck. These two teams get familiar with each other, meeting 4 consecutive times between Atlanta and Fenway. And then we see the Yankees on Friday night at Fenway. For the first time, A-Rod got hurt.
Well, he's 90. I mean, chances are he's going to get banged up this season.
Quite 90, Steve. 2-2, a cut and a miss. That one had some pretty good movement. He strikes him out. Third strikeout for Tehran.
Pretty nasty break on that slider right there. Down and away hard. So far, Tehran's looked pretty good. Good lively fastball. Good breaking ball.
You sit down the first 5 men. Here's Brock Holt trying to break that up. He has a 6-game hitting streak. The game that he had where he hit for the cycle against the Braves last June at Fenway. He had 3 hits against this guy.
Yeah.
Including a home run. And the fastball in tight.
Last night he dropped down the Red Sox very first sacrifice bunt of the season, and it was perfectly done.
Brock hitting .292 with 2 homers. He's driven in 12. And the count goes to 3-0. I think Tehran remembers.
Yeah.
Jackie Bradley on deck. Jackie coming off a big hit last night in the win at Houston. Just in case you didn't stay up for it. In there for a called strike. I know most Sox fans did, but that was a tough task in a 5-hour game.
Last night Holt had a hit, a walk, a sacrifice bunt, a sacrifice fly, and a run scored. Just the second Red Sox player in the last 100 years to do all that. It's crazy.
Amazing. Fans, you can help NESN by taking a quick 2-minute survey and enter for a chance to win a VIP NESN experience at the ballpark on June 16th. Visit NESN.com/survey during tonight's game for your chance to win. So Brock Holt is aboard. He becomes the first base runner, and Jackie Bradley to stand in. 2 for 6 and drove in 2 runs last night. 2 huge runs. Check swing roller to third base. Garcia across the diamond and gets him. Jackie didn't mean to, but he grounds out. So 1 man left after 1.5. No score in Atlanta. Instagram. Be sure to follow us to keep up with all things Red Sox this season. Visit Instagram.com/NESSN and follow right now. Last half of the second inning, Jeff Francoeur to step up against Rick Porcello, who drills in a strike. Used to have seen a lot of each other over the years. Francoeur now 32 years old. He's back in Atlanta for the first time in 8 years. He's 9 for 23, 391 and a couple of homers against Rick. This is back where Francoeur's career began, in his hometown back in 2005.
Been swinging the bat pretty well for the Braves. He plays primarily against left-handed pitching, where he really rakes, but he has good numbers against Porcello, so he's in there tonight.
The 1-2. Got him to chase. First K in the book for Porcello.
This is when you know Porcello is going very good. Look at that cutter or slider off the plate. When he can go to both sides of the plate, sink the fastball to one side, throw the slider to the other, ride that four-seamer up in the zone, he's finally figured out that he's a really good pitcher when he mixes all of his pitches.
One away, here's Freddie Freeman. He goes up the middle and skips a single into center field. Certainly their best hitter, not having a great year so far at 177. But he is aboard with one man out. And probably the one guy in a tough spot, meaning with runners in scoring position, you need to stay away from in their line.
Yeah, I mean, if he's in a situation where he could really hurt this club or beat you, obviously with nobody on base and an out, you know, you could go after him. But if he can beat you with a swing of the bat, he's not going to see a strike.
Jace Peterson, the second baseman, hitting just .216, no homers. He was acquired from San Diego in 2014 in the Justin Upton trade. Had a hard time last year, hitting just .239, and even lower than that so far in the early going this year. Pedroia and Bogarts up the middle at double play depth, looking to turn two. Always a possibility with Rick Porcello. Down low, snap throw, and the tag not in time. Vasquez behind there. And going after Freeman.
You got to love an active catcher behind the plate. Nino Vasquez loves to show off that gun. Manager Freddie Gonzalez said he moved Freeman to that number 6 spot to get him better RBI opportunities and to get him going offensively, hitting just a .177. He got a base hit in his first one.
And for a strike, it's the lowest he has batted in their order in years here tonight.
Yeah, Gonzalez said, look, he's a number 3 hitter. We all know that. When he is swinging the bat, he's the best hitter we have on this club. But right now, I wanted him to get a little bit of a breather and have the opportunity to maybe drive in some runs, hitting in the 6th slot.
He hasn't hit that far down since 2012. That moves him back a bit. Peterson. Well, it's a different feel coming into Atlanta when they're not preparing to have a highly competitive season. You and I were in the press dining room, and Tom Glavine walks in. Hall of Famer Tom Glavine. And you immediately harken back to the great pitching staffs here in this ballpark for so long.
Well, you see all the flags flying up there above the left field wall just year after year, 14 years.
Lunge, and he taps it foul. Of course, a Massachusetts native. Tom working as a broadcaster and a club executive, so he's got to wear the tie all day. Looks great. Looks like he's still in phenomenal shape. And a legend here in Atlanta.
And in certain circles of Boston.
Certain hockey rinks, too.
Sure. Excellent hockey player.
Well, in this ballpark, as you see, they have only 70 days remaining when they close it. That is inside for a ball. They won 9 consecutive postseason spots after moving across the street from Old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. This is the converted Olympic Stadium from the Summer Games. And just one pennant after another here.
Just can't believe they're going away from this place after 20 years. That's not very long.
Runner goes. Swing, ground ball, hook behind first, but a foul ball out of the range of Travis Shaw. Now taking a look at the new ballpark, SunTrust Park. They'll move into this place next year. And there are going to be all sorts of shops and a big hotel close by as well. They said, well, that's where our fan base is. So let's bring the ballpark to the fan base instead of making the fans travel to downtown Atlanta.
Looks like it's going to be an amazing place.
From all reports, it'll be spectacular. I don't think the traffic is going to ease. The runner goes again, and it's fouled in the air out of play. This might be the worst traffic city in America.
Yeah. I think part of the problem here with this ballpark, too, is they didn't do anything around it. There isn't anything to do out here. You're outside of the city. There's no shops out here. There's no restaurants out here. They didn't do anything to drag you to the ballpark.
Winning one championship after another wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough.
And they have in the past had trouble drawing for postseason games.
And I think that was because they were in it so often. I think Braves fans needed.
Ground ball right side. Pedroia goes to the hole. He has the one play on to first base to retire Peterson. Freeman's into second with 2 away.
They needed to decide for themselves where they spent their playoff dollars. Was it going to be in the first round? Or are we going to wait for the league championship series? Or maybe even, hey, they're going to be in the World Series again, maybe. You never know. It's hard for the fan base to buy playoff tickets for 14 years in a row to go to all the playoff games.
Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz. Year after year after year, an incredible legacy of winning. Here's Mallex Smith, the speedy little center fielder, also acquired from San Diego. Bounding ball, first base. That's going to stay fair. Travis has it up to the base and beats him. And that will retire the side. One man left. 0-0 as we go to the third in Atlanta. Popular demand. Student Nines presented by Selfio. Back for 2016. That means high school and college kids can pick up tickets at Fenway for just $9. For tickets and more information, visit redsox.com/students. And for more on the Red Sox early arrival, let's go down to Garen.
Thanks, Obi. It was a very late night for the Red Sox, who got to their hotel about 5:30 in the morning. John Farrell said that with the late game and the travel schedule, they had to adjust their plans while they're here in Atlanta. He said they had to use common sense, push everything back so the guys could conserve energy. He said usually as the guys arrived to the park around noon, he didn't have the bus available for them until about 3 p.m. But OB, Dustin Pedroia took a cab over and was here before noon.
What a shock. Surprised Petey didn't come right from the airport. Christian Vasquez lays off, and that's on the corner.
You mean like the production crew? Our guys in the truck, man, they didn't get any sleep.
And that's the truth.
They have to show up about 11 o'clock for the first day into any series to set up everything. And it's amazing the work that goes on behind the scenes.
Vasquez hitting 190 at the moment. No homers, no runs batted in. It's actually been a good hitting team on the road too. 298 on the road. That's #1 in the majors. They're looking for their first hit tonight against Tehran, 25-year-old from Cartagena, Colombia. Line shot, but foul past first base. Tehran really isn't an ace, but he is their #1 starter for Atlanta. He's twice won 14 games in 13 and 14.
Glad you made that distinction, because people always think, oh, every team has an ace. Well, no, they don't. Every team has to have a #1 by default, I guess, the guy that you hand the ball to, but there are very few aces out there. The Red Sox have one, David Price.
Who will pitch tomorrow.
Hit a couple bumps in the road, but you got to think that over the course of a 33 start season, the cream is going to rise right there, and that guy's going to have an outstanding season.
You would think that's the case, certainly, with both David Price and Craig Kimbrell.
Absolutely.
1-2 bloop foul as he hangs in. Porcello is on deck, and then Mookie Betts. Red Sox beating the Astros in Houston in 12 innings last night, 7-5. The first of 3 consecutive Sunday night games the Red Sox will play. The next 2 are against the Yankees at Fenway and then in the Bronx. Breaking ball cut on and missed. He got him. It's a 4th strikeout for Tehran.
Everything was hard in that at bat, really, even the breaking stuff, until this pitch. 70 miles an hour. It's not a changeup. Big old sweeping curveball. Looks like 70 miles an hour.
Porcello as a hitter, 174 lifetime.
I asked Rick before the game today. I said, "Can you hit?" He said, "Nope." I said, "Can you bunt?" I said, "I hope so."
He does have 3 sacrifices.
That's good.
But a lot of strikeouts. A lot of time in the American League, of course, and all of his in the American League. But these interleague games, the only opportunity he faces a National League guy. At least he makes contact here, and Peterson will flip on to get him.
He looks like a hitter.
2 down. Back up to the top of the order. Mookie Betts will get his second look now at Julio Tehran. Mookie had 4 hits on Friday in Houston. He went 4 for 5, and when he flied out to center field for the only out he made in the game, the Astros manager A.J. Hinch called out, "Hey, they don't all fall in." I asked Mookie, and he said, "I didn't hear him say that, but I heard about it." Meant it very good-naturedly. He's a huge Mookie fan.
Funny thing about it is that conversation moved along. Mookie was afraid that he was showing somebody up, something of which he has never done.
He did, yeah. As you and I were talking to him about this, he said, "I hope he didn't think I was, just ignoring him or something like that." I said, "No, he knows you didn't hear him." I said, "You should know what a huge fan he is." He's making a lot of fans. Here's the 2-0. Here's a drive to right field. Markakis back to the track, and it's over his head. Plays it on the bounce. Looked like he had it lined up and into second base. Betts has himself a double. That was oddly played.
Poorly played. Not sure if he ever would have gotten there anyway, but if you're a right fielder, you turn your back and run to that ball. He watches the ball the entire time. It's hit hard over his head. You got to turn your back and run towards the wall where you think this ball is going to go. Watch Markakis. He'll be watching the ball the entire time. And by doing that, you never catch up with the ball. Watching, watching, watching. I'm sorry, you're not going to get it now. And Mookie's happy to be standing at second.
Another extra base hit for Mookie Betts. And the Red Sox trying to get on the board here. Scoreless in the third inning. Dustin Pedroia struck out in the first. Pedroia's last 4 games, 10 for 22 with 5 extra base hits. 3 for 7 last night with a single, a double, and a triple.
Third time in his career that he's done that.
2-0. Well, that's an indication with all those hits. He's third in the American League, that those hands feel really good. And physically, he's in great shape. Here comes Brzezinski.
These are the type of at-bats that you really like to watch Petey hit, too. He knows if there's 2 outs. He knows a single most likely would drive in a run early in this ball game. It looks like they may need just a few runs. We'll see. Tehran looks like he's having his best start so far this season in the early going. But this is where Petey just zeroes in.
Been going to right field a lot in recent days, too. There's one to right, but it hops up for Peterson. And on to first base in time to get him. So the Red Sox strand a man at second. Still no score in Atlanta. Up and the Red Sox taking on the Atlanta Braves. We are scoreless here in Atlanta. Great to have you with us. Beautiful night for a ball game. Dave O'Brien and Steve Lyons. Gritty win last night for the Red Sox.
It really was. And I think the difference between being 9-9 and 8-10 this early in the season, as this team still tries to establish itself, is huge, especially the way they had to win that game. They had it in hand. It got away. They battled back and won it. There was some great stories within that game.
Especially the way the bullpen eventually did come together. Heath Hembree locking that one down. He's really becoming a valuable guy. Not a guy the Red Sox leaned on coming out of spring training, but John Farrell is now.
I'll tell you what, it was an excellent effort, and he was completely on fumes at the end of it and still got it up and struck out the last 2 guys he faced with 2 guys in scoring position that could have beat you.
Porcello will strike out Tehran to get this one underway in the bottom of the 3rd inning, his 2nd K.
Obviously the base hit by Bradley to drive in the run, but the 13 pitch at bat that Hannigan had.
What a great
fouled off 8 straight pitches.
And then Jackie Bradley delivering the big single, which turned out to be the go-ahead run.
And the Hannigan, Giles was throwing nothing but 98-mile-an-hour fastballs for about 7 pitches in a row. and then he breaks off a nasty slider, and Hannigan fouls it off back to back.
Markakis here, he's 0 for 1. The kind of game the Red Sox didn't win on the last homestand, the last game of the homestand, but won it yesterday. Very, very similar.
And the kind of game they never won last year.
That's a great point. A ball on Markakis back to last night, and Jackie Bradley, one of the heroes.
Watch him go down and dig this ball out and hit it into right field. Hanley started that inning with a base hit to left. He was loving it.
Kind of game you just have to win. You have to win.
Yeah, I'll tell you, by the time that game was going on, me and John, the cameraman, went down and sat behind home plate. The fans were thinning out, and it was a lot of fun to be sitting right there watching what we watched there in that inning.
2-1, a looper, but a foul off the bat of Markakis.
Our perspective here from the booth is certainly one of the best that you'll ever have, but there's really nothing like sitting right down there on the field, the speed of the game and the pitches that we were seeing. We're seeing guys, you know, Hembree was throwing 95, Giles throwing 98. Game speeds up down there pretty quick.
2-2, he was late. Down he goes. Porcello blew him away. Back-to-back strikeouts as he gets Markakis. So 2 down.
Once again, you see Porcello using all of his pitches, and that one, four-seamer up, blow him away.
Since he returned from that strained triceps last season, landing him on the DL, Porcello has made 11 starts. He's gone at least 6 innings every time. Deals a breaking ball again in front of Castro. That's actually the longest such streak in the American League.
Listen to Tim Wakefield talk about that on the pregame show and how proud he is of any other pitcher on the Red Sox staff that can run together a string like that. He understands how important it is to get deeper into ball games. And you know, the way bullpens are set up these days, they usually have guys that are going to come into the game if there's a pretty good chance you're not going to win it, and then guys that come into the game if there's a pretty good chance you are going to win it. And you need to set your bullpen up so that the guys are coming into the game so you can win. And that's all on your starter.
DraftKings is the official one-day fantasy baseball partner of the Boston Red Sox. Experience the thrill of playing on DraftKings now. Play free daily using the promo code NESSN at DraftKings.com. Two-1 to Castro. Hammer to third. Another nice stop by Rutledge. A lengthy toss right on the money, right to the chest. And they go 1-2-3. Nothing. We're going to the 4th in Atlanta. Is everything you have come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game of all 30 teams in true high def on over 400 supported devices. Visit MLB.tv for details. Steve Lyons, Dave O'Brien with you. Garen Austin as well. Red Sox getting excellent pitching early on. Now looking for a couple of runs here against Julio Teheran. We are scoreless to the 4th inning at Turner Field. Bogarts, Shaw, and Rutledge. Second time around against the right-hander. Xander sent a deep drive to center field. It was caught by Smith up against the center field fence in the 1st inning. And he fouls that one away, 1-1. Xander had heated up when Luke Gregerson drilled him on the right wrist on Friday night. He had been 5 for 8 the previous 2 games. That wrist is a bit tender. Could have been a lot worse, though. My fear was that originally it was headed for his chin.
I think it was headed for his chin, and he got that chin out of the way. Goodness gracious. It was not fun to watch.
Showed a lot of toughness getting back in there the very next day. Fouls that one off the catcher.
Yeah, you should never mistake his mild-manneredness, his good spirit, as being a kid who's not tough, because he is a tough kid, no question about it.
There's a lot of steel in there. 2-2. Missed to run it to 3-2. Ace Ticket is Boston's trusted source for Red Sox tickets. All with a 200% guarantee. Treat yourself for someone special by visiting aceticket.com or by calling 1-800-MY-SEATS. (3-2) coming. He got him. Down he goes, swinging and missing. 1 man away for the Red Sox in the 4th.
You know, take a look at this pitch right here as we see Teheran continue to be effective, throwing that ball right by Xander.
Travis Shaw to step in. He struck out in the 2nd inning. Teheran now with 5 strikeouts. Travis doing a great job getting on base. A .400 on base percentage coming into tonight. He's the cleanup man this evening. And a foul ball off Brzezinski.
Dave, just to put a little bow on that conversation about the way bullpens like to be set up. When you look at the Kansas City Royals in their championship season, they would get through 6 innings, and then you'd see Holland, Herrera, and Davis to close things out. If they were losing games in the 7th inning, you would never see any of those 3 guys in a ball game.
Fly to left, but that'll slice off into the stands.
They'd be running guys in there that you'd never heard of before. Now, with the Red Sox, obviously, John Farrell would love his starter to get through 6 so that you could see Taz in the 7th, Koji in the 8th, Kimbrel in the 9th. And that formula is the formula they're looking for to put games away. That's why you generally don't see Koji or Kimbrel in any game that they're not winning.
1-2. He checked. The fascinating aspect will be for me when Carson Smith is healthy. Where does he fit in there?
He fits somewhere, that's for sure. Another outstanding arm that John Farrell can mix and match with.
It'll be the 7th or the 8th, John says. Exactly where will be the interesting part, and how that changes slightly the roles of the other guys.
And if Smith comes in and is successful right away, it will be the other guys that have to adjust to him taking a for sure inning.
3-2 on Shaw. Scoreless in the 4th inning. And it's inside for ball 4, so he reaches. As we check out what events are coming up at Foxwoods Resort Casino on May 22, 3 doors down. And on July 2nd, Hollywood Vampires. And here comes Josh Rutledge, who struck out in the second inning. So far, the Red Sox have one hit, a Mookie Betts double in the third inning. Fouled right back to the net for strike one. Teheran was an all-star in 2014 for Atlanta. And in fact, he has made the Braves' last 3 opening day starts. But he's 0-2 with a .564 ERA coming into play tonight. Braves with the worst record in the majors at 4-14. Hard ground ball and a base hit. Shaw can advance to second and stop there. So the Red Sox have something brewing here in the 4th inning.
Rutledge continues to take advantage of the opportunities that he gets to play. Mistake by Teheran right there, leaving that ball right out over the middle of the plate. Rutledge just bangs it into left.
Brock Holt will be next. He took ball 4 in the second. Trying to run his hitting streak to 7 in a row. As I mentioned, he was all over the final line score in the victory over Houston last night. Brock was. Braves fans here want to try and get their own chance going. You know, they still do the tomahawk chop here when they are rallying, but there are a lot of Red Sox fans here, and the Braves fans are trying to shout them down. There's a ton of Sox fans in Houston.
Absolutely.
Runners holding. Shaw at second base. It bluffed as if he were about to take off, but he goes back to the bag.
Red Sox players can shut down the Braves fans with a base hit right here a little bit.
Shaw at second, Rutledge at first. 0-0 in the 4th. And a 2-0. Strike. Teheran's last start was pushed back a day because of illness. And then he would only last 5 1/3 against the Dodgers. It's in for a call strike, but facing the American League doesn't make him feel any better. He is 0-4 lifetime against the AL with an earned run average of 7.02 in his interleague starts. Here's the 2-2 to Brock Holt. All filled up.
Brock Holt continues to be the most patient Red Sox hitter in the lineup.
7 out of 19 with runners in scoring position. This goes back a long way too. I mean, all the way back through last season. Very consistent with men in scoring position like right now. Three-two runners go. There's a swing and a high deep drive, but foul. He really cranked it, but foul. He jumped all over that one.
It's really taken the 3 years for the Red Sox organization really to believe in Brock Holt as an everyday player. Always wanted him to be a super utility guy, maybe sit on the bench more often than play, and he's just bowled his way into the lineup.
Since the All-Star break last year, he's hitting .408 with runners in scoring position. That leads the majors. Shaw at second, Rutledge at first. Cut on a miss. Here's the throw down to third. This is going to be an easy double play. Down goes Brock Holt. One of the few times he does not come through in that position. And it turns out a strike him out, throw him out, double play. Brave Series brought to you by Jeep, the most awarded SUV lineup ever. We take a look at tomorrow's pitching matchup. David Price, trying to go to 3-0 on the season, wants to bring that ERA down. After a short one against Tampa Bay, Red Sox got him off the hook, but 8 earned runs in 3 2/3. So looking to get back on the winning side of things. Ground ball rattled by Garcia right to Bogaerts. That's 1 pitch and 1 out to begin the bottom of the 4th inning in a 0-0 game.
Excellent pitch by Porcello right there, throwing a breaking ball up there to a guy who's a first pitch dead red swinger. 1 pitch, 1 out. You're a guy up there looking to swing first pitch fastball. This is what you get. If you don't have the discipline to lay off of it, you roll over 6-3.
Sounded like he broke his bat too.
Yes, he did.
Here's Brzezinski. He lined out to right. Nice running play by Mookie Betts in the alley. Were you one of those guys who got attached to certain bats for a long time, and when you did break it, it was a tough day for you? It was a tragic event in your life? Because I've known hitters like that.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys. And I think the philosophy is that if you have a bat for a long time, you end up with a lot of bat tar on it. There's some nicks in it. There's a lot of black marks from the ball. You're showing the pitcher, you can't get in my kitchen. You're not breaking this bat. This is my stick that I've been coming up here with for 2 weeks. You feel good about going up there with that. And it's almost like you're playing head games with the guy that's throwing the ball at you.
Or a guy like Nomar, 4 months. Or Joe Mauer, someone like that, who just never broke bats.
It's hard to do, too.
Softly lined, little slicer, and a foul ball just off the line. Boy, Rutledge gave it a great effort, but a foul.
Nice effort by Rutledge, and just on the other side of that chalk. It hurts a lot more when you dive and don't catch it.
Oh, 2 on A.J. Brzezinski. He was at .233, no homers when the night got underway. 1-2.
I think there's fewer of those guys around now, Dave. It seems like a lot of the guys you see come to the plate, their bats are nice and shiny, brand new. It's like they only use a bat one time and then they go get a new one.
So many of them snap at the handle these days. They blew him away.
Or get slammed on the ground.
That one's gone. On the strikeout.
That's a self-inflicted one right there. Brzezinski swinging right through a cut fastball, and then the bat. It wasn't the bat's fault, really.
It's like watching Carlos Gomez last night break it over his knee. Alexis is making a pledge to strike out hunger. For every strikeout by a Sox pitcher, Alexis donates $50 to the Greater Boston Food Bank.
Porcello with excellent command so far of all of his pitches. Throwing the ball right where he wants to.
He struck out 4, including Frank Gore, the batter now. First time they met. Been quite a journey home for Frank Gore back to Atlanta. He was a young star here playing with Chipper Jones back in 2005. Punch foul.
And his childhood buddy, Brian McCann, grew up together here just outside of Atlanta.
A lot of good baseball players have come out of here.
Haywood.
2008, though, he hit just .239. He was traded to the Mets and then Texas. He signed a series of free agent deals with Kansas City, the Giants, the Padres. He actually wound up riding minor league buses in 2014 in El Paso. Looked like his career was over. Looked like he was done. But he played pretty well when the Phillies took a chance on him. Last year hitting 13 home runs, and the Braves said, why not? We'll bring you home. Ground ball to right. Shaw will take that. And a nice quick inning for Rick Porcello. He gets a 1-2-3. We've completed 4. Still nothing here in Atlanta. Honoring the 1986 Red Sox season, game number 19, the Red Sox beat the Mariners 9-4. Steve, you hit a triple in this game in the bottom of the 8th inning, knocking in Rich Gedman for an RBI. An inning earlier, you were intentionally walked with the score tied 4-4. Great respect for you. The next batter, Ed Romero, with a 2 RBI double. How well do you remember that?
Not well at all.
It's gone.
I used to think anytime I ever got a hit, I'd probably remember it. I didn't get that many, but boy, it's nice to see your name in the highlights there.
They wanted nothing to do with you.
No, they didn't.
Nothing to do with you. You're going to put this guy on, forget about it.
Up in, it's a legend in Seattle.
Yeah. More ways than one.
My 1 for 4 did him in.
Good for you. It's a nice memory.
It is.
I don't know if any of that was actually true, by the way, but we got it on the air.
Well, never let the truth stand in the way, right?
Jackie Bradley leading off the 5th inning. Red Sox nothing and the Braves nothing. Jackie grounding out to 3rd in the 2nd inning. It's a high twisting pop to center field right at Smith. And one man is gone. The Sox only have 1 hit. The double by Mookie Betts in the 3rd inning. And the Braves only have, I should say, 2 hits. Base hit by Rutledge as well in the 4th, and the Braves only have 2.
We've seen Tehran be a good pitcher, and his numbers haven't indicated that so far this season. But in tonight's ball game, he's doing a pretty good job of keeping the ball out of the middle of the plate.
A strike to Christian Vasquez, who struck out in the third.
We talked about that base hit that Rutledge got was a fastball right down the middle.
On the infield, a two-hopper to Peterson. 2 up and 2 down. Sox fans looking for the best seats to the biggest games. Check out the official Red Sox ticket resale marketplace at RedSoxReplay.com. The best place for season ticket holders to sell their seats when they can't make it to the game. Rick Porcello now 0 for 1. A tapper to third. This is going to be a very, very quick inning if he can hold on, but he can't. And Porcello is going to be safe at first base, in and out of the glove of Freddie Freeman.
Well, this has been a problem for Garcia. I think he'll get the air on that. It's his 6th, 7th air of the season. Just a little chopper up the line, but he doesn't handle the ball well on the transfer. Throws it up the line. Freeman's got to worry about his glove hand getting tangled up with the runner in that situation. That's a scary thing.
Porcello ran hard all the way.
Yes, he did.
So he's aboard for Mookie Betts, who has doubled and grounded out. No score, 5th inning in a game that has moved along at a National League pace to this point. Mookie coming off 7 hits in the series, and Houston tags that one high and deep to right center field. Markakis back on the track, will make the play. So this one he catches right up near the fence to retire the side. That was a 5-pitch inning. Baseball on NESN is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Hair Cuttery, smart looks, smart prices. And by the great folks at Sullivan Tire and Auto Service. Already at the midway point here, Porcello has been pitching very well. So is Julio Teheran, his opponent tonight. And we are scoreless to the last half of the 5th inning. Porcello retiring 8 in a row. Teheran, despite the error by his third baseman, just had a very quick inning. The Sox have had slightly better scoring opportunities, but not many.
Markakis smartened up and moved back in right field deep enough to be able to flag down that drive off of Mookie's bat. Porcello was flying around the bases. Would have scored easily if that ball dropped. Shows some pretty good instincts on the bases, even though he's not out there very often.
Rick's pitching line brought to you by Ace Ticket. Through 4 innings, 4 strikeouts, and no walks.
Pretty good line.
Freddie Freeman will lead things off. He has one of the 2 hits against Porcello, both singles. He's the Braves' top player and one of the few power threats on what has been a punchless team. Strike one. Freeman 6'5", about 220. Two-time All-Stars. Best year was 2013 when he hit .319 with 23 homers and drove in 109 runs.
I think Porcello will probably pitch away from Freddie and show him inside every once in a while.
He drops down a bunt. That's going to be a base hit. Nobody there. Xander has to scoop it up. So Freeman is 2 for 2, and he bunts his way on. We're seeing a lot more bunting out of big-time hitters.
Yep. Well, Freeman's not hitting the ball that well, and they're handing him a bunt with the shift, so he's going to take it. That pitch right there wasn't even designed to be a strike. He wanted to show him hard inside, but it ended up being a good pitch for Freeman, who had squared around. And we've seen that. Guys don't take their time and drop down a good bunt. They're over anxious, and he almost squared around, almost like it was a sacrifice.
Yep.
All he had to do is get it past Porcello, and it was going to be a base hit.
So the Braves had the leadoff man on for the first time. Bluff bunt here by Jace Peterson, who's 0 for 1. He's a good bunter. Has good speed. In fact, he was a cornerback at McNeese State in Louisiana. Dual sports star.
Continuing to peek down at Rutledge.
Roller foul. Go back to 2003, and the Red Sox have the best interleague record in the majors. 152 wins, just 88 losses. They have beaten up the National League. 1-1, fouled back to the screen. This should be a part of the order that a good pitcher would dominate for Atlanta. Freeman hitting 177. Peterson 216 coming in. The man behind him, Mallex Smith, 143. Then you have the pitcher. Little flare foul, still 1-2.
Good National League back end of a lineup. Porcello trying to make sure that happens. Porcello found himself on base and then had to run the bases. That ball had dropped, he would have been running quite a bit farther.
I don't think he would have minded it.
Nope.
1-2 to Peterson. Bogarts to Pedroia. That's one. They turn and not in time. Peterson runs too well. On the topic of running, here's Porcello on the bases moments ago.
This is on the ball that Mookie Betts hit with 2 outs, and Porcello saying, if that ball drops, I'm scoring. Got pretty good speed, and that right about there is where Markakis made the catch, and no reason to keep going.
So Peterson becomes the runner at first base, and Porcello will have to watch him. Here's another speed merchant, Mallex Smith, 0 for 1 with a grounder to first in this one. 0-0 game, bottom of the 5th. Smith, a left-hand hitter, close play, but a dive back in safely. Peterson.
Peterson gets down the line pretty well, and the reason that was not a double play ball was because Bogarts was pretty deep at short, and the angle that Petey had to come to second base. Look where Petey has to come from to try to get this double play. Way in the hole. He's got to get there and then turn all the way around. Peterson down the line very quickly. That's the reason why they couldn't turn it.
The man at the plate, it'll be tough to turn on him too. Smith. Runner goes. Cut on and missed. Here's the throw and the tag, and he is out. Vasquez cuts him down. Well, that's a cannon back there. What a weapon to get Peterson for out number 2.
Yeah, that was kind of a crazy hit and run, it looked like, or at least this is a feeble swing. You see Peterson taking off. There's the cannon from behind the plate, but the ball sails on him a little bit. Look at the great job that Bogey does adjusting to the throw, going across the bag, catching it, and then coming back in with the tag. That is a scary adjustment for a shortstop to have to go across the play into the runner.
Love the energy. It's going to be an offer at that pitch, and the count is 0-2 on Smith. You got to love that energy.
Well, and that's what you have to have as a catcher, a guy who loves to play and is running the show back there, and that's what Vasquez does. Talent helps you a little too.
Just a tad. 0-2 a little bit high. So I'm dying to know what Christian Vasquez said when he made that motion over his head. I wonder if it's something he says whenever he throws out a base stealer.
Yes.
1-2 check swing. That's in there. Strike three.
Nice.
Down goes Smith. Christian Vasquez catches a base stealer. And we're still 0-0.
The ball very well and getting some sweet defense from his teammates early on in this game. Rutledge with the dive to the left, up and throwing him out. And look at the route that Betts takes straight across the field, the shortest distance between 2 points, and makes the play, knowing that Bradley was behind him. And then a great tag by Bogey down there, and Vasquez saying, "Do not run on me."
Has to be extra sweet for Christian Vasquez. The first man he has caught stealing down there at second base since being promoted back to the big league club, and the first one since Tommy John surgery. Pedroia leading off the 6th inning, no score. An extremely well pitched game here in Atlanta.
As time goes on, Vasquez won't throw many guys out at second base because they won't run.
Pedroia has struck out and grounded out to second. He'll be followed by Bogarts and then Shaw. Off speed down and away at 81 from Tehran.
Just finished that series in Houston where Altuve is one of the best base runners, best base stealers in the game. Didn't want to run against Vasquez.
The 2-0 pitch. Pedroia trying to make it a 6-game hitting streak. Tehran's 2-1 and foul back over the screen.
Now, Dave, one of the things that I loved about that last play, too, where Vasquez throws out the base stealer, that was a botched hit and run. The hitter didn't make contact with the ball. Vasquez throws the runner out, but Pedroia was backing up the play, and so was Bradley backing up the play from center field. Everybody involved in it.
Two. Shot into right center toward the gap. Markakis racing. He'll make the catch. Don't miss WB Mason Extra Innings Live right after the game. TC and Tim Wakefield will break it down. You'll hear from Rick Porcello and from John Farrell. Whatever, whenever, wherever, who but WB Mason. We talked about Atlanta going 13 games since their last home run. For the Red Sox, it's been 3 games.
Yep.
And that suddenly feels like a long time. Called strike on Xander Bogaerts, who hit .329 against the National League last year. 1 out in the 6th. No score.
Well,
0-2.
When you consider the fact that the Braves have just 3 home runs on the season, they hit 2 on opening day. They've hit 1 since then. There have been 55 teams that hit 3 home runs or more in a single game this year, and there are 50 players in the big leagues that have more than 3 home runs this year.
It's amazing. This is a guy who will give up a home run, though. He gave up 27 last year.
Because he likes the 4-seamer up, and that gets hit every once in a while hard. And when his 2-seamer leaks back out over the plate, it's a very hittable pitch. He's been able to control that so far tonight. 6th inning, though, when problems start to set in.
Well, a 0-0 game here in the 6th inning. Red Sox are leading the American League at 5 runs per game.
And as you just mentioned, the home run production, they are tied for last in the American League in home runs. With the Angels, don't have to hit the ball out of the park in order to score runs. Red Sox have proven that.
The looper to right field and a base hit, just served into the outfield for a 1-out single for Xander Bogaerts. That is the 3rd Red Sox hit off Julio Teheran.
There's classic bogey from last season where he really learned how to use the entire field, going the other way when he was deep into the count, dumping balls into right field for base hits all season long.
Travis Shaw has struck out and walked. He was thrown out at 3rd base, caught stealing on a hit and run play in the 4th inning where Brock Holt struck out. This is a guy you really have to watch, Teheran, because he has one of the best right-handed pickoff moves in baseball. He has extraordinarily quick feet. There goes the runner. Check swing and a foul ball, and I think Xander had it stolen.
He did have it stolen, and Travis is very mad at himself. Tried to hold up. He didn't want to swing at that ball, but the ball rode in on him, and he got an excuse me foul ball. And I think this Red Sox team, anybody who can run will run against Brzezinski.
The 0-1, there he goes again. That's a strike. Here's the throw, and he's going to dive in safe with a stolen base.
I love that. Didn't get a chance to steal the base on the first one because there was a foul ball. I'm coming right back at you, and you can't get me.
Number 3 for Xander Bogaerts. So Shaw can drive him in. Only one out. Count is 0-2. High pop up into shallow left, backing out Castro. Francoeur coming on. He'll put it away. So tough at bat for Travis Shaw. Fans, you can help NESN by taking a quick 2-minute survey and enter for a chance to win a VIP NESN experience at the ballpark on June 16th. Visit NESN.com/survey during the game tonight for your chance to win. A little confusion there. The Braves shirt over a Red Sox shirt. Which way do you go?
Which shirt's on top, I guess.
Josh Rutledge now. He has struck out and singled. Red Sox are going to have to do with 2 here. 2 down, and Xander Bogaerts at second. No score in the 6th.
Something to watch out for here. Even though there's 2 outs, and Xander can get a much bigger lead and a much better jump to score from second base with 2 outs. Jeff Francoeur now playing left field, still one of the better arms in baseball. If there's a base hit to left, you may see a pretty exciting play at home.
0-1 to the Alabama native, and slammed in the air but fouled down the right field line. Josh attended the University of Alabama. There's an older brother, Michael, who played baseball at Mississippi State. Outstanding baseball program.
Even way back.
He's in the hole, 0-2. Bogaerts at second. Red Sox trying to get on top here. 2 games in Atlanta, and then we see the Braves 2 times at Fenway over 4 straight nights. He fought that one back out of play. Tuesday, May 10th is David Price bobblehead night at Fenway. First 15,000 in attendance receive a David Price bobblehead, courtesy of Nikon. For tickets and information, visit redsox.com/promos or call 877-RED SOX 9.
Is Astro going to be on the bobblehead?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I was talking to David about Astro before the game because they're running those commercials. They're pairing together.
I don't think he goes anywhere without Astro.
I think you're right. Commercials are adorable. The 1-2. Fought off foul again. I said, David, in the spot in the commercial, you throw the ball from the grass in front of the green monster and Astro doesn't go and get it. He said that was just the edit. He said in actual real life he did go for it.
He goes and gets everything.
Everything. He said, but it was a cuter commercial if you just sort of laid at my feet. That was the whole point of the spot.
With the big tongue hanging out.
The big tongue.
Not David's. Astros.
Bogaerts at second. Cut on and miss. That was filthy. To strike out Rutledge. 1 man left. Still a 0-0 game here in Atlanta. Dunkin' Donuts coffee started right in Boston, the #1 coffee in New England. The Boston Red Sox run on Dunkin'. Last half of the 6th inning, Porcello looking to put away this man, Julio Teheran, the pitcher, very quickly. Struck him out looking in the 3rd inning, and he's ahead 0-2. No score in the 6th. Dribble toward first base. That's going to roll along the line, but it will go foul.
Oh, you want to get that one fair if you can. Had it.
Joe West, the veteran umpire there. Joe's still at it.
That ball just hugging the line the whole way, just kicks foul.
Joe said the guy at home has the call.
Until it reaches the base. That's exactly correct.
Just off the outside.
A lot of people don't understand that rule. It is the home plate umpire's call until the ball gets past first base. And then it becomes the first base umpire's call. They've just had an interesting tweet. A guy asked me, is there any radar gun on catcher's throws to second base? He said, I'd love to compare the difference between Vasquez's throw and then Przinsky's.
Yeah.
It would be fun to know.
That's a great question. 1-2 fouled back. Boy, a pesky at bat here for the pitcher, Teheran. Now, you do have exit velocities on outfielders, so we can tell, like, if a Cespedes or a Jackie Bradley uncorks a throw at like 100 miles an hour. We don't get those instantaneously. Waved at and missed, and down he goes. He puts away Teheran for the 2nd time. I'd love to see that too. And of course, you have catchers throwing speeds down to second base. We have those. And in his case, in Vasquez's case, when he was 100% healthy before Tommy John, he could get it down there at like 1.72.
Yeah, which is crazy quick. But that is the entire process of getting the ball down there, not how fast the ball is leaving his hand.
You're right. We can't get that reading. I know we can get it somewhere because you can get a number on anything in baseball.
Yeah, we need that exit velocity.
I want that. Leadoff man Markakis has gone 0 for 2. He's flied to left and struck out, and he's had a lot of success in his career against Porcello. Before tonight, 11 for 27, a 4.07 pace. So a key man for Rick here. 2-0. Back to that throw.
And it's a tough ball to handle, and it's up and gone.
I love that.
Maybe you don't know. You don't want to know what he said.
Cross for a called strike on Markakis. Vasquez did so many things right on that play, on a very tough pitch. 2-1. Soft breaking ball goes to 3-1. Markakis, a guy you've always had to throw strikes to.
That's a ball down in the dirt for Vasquez. He has to come out of his crouch, something that a catcher never wants to do on a ball down. But if he doesn't, he can never throw the guy out. He's got to come up, get the ball, make the transfer, and make a good throw.
3-1 is low for ball 4, so Atlanta with a base runner here in the 6th inning in a 0-0 game. Stay tuned for Red Sox Final. It's presented by Plainridge Park Casino. TC and Tim Wakefield preview David Price's start tomorrow, and highlights from around the American League East. Here comes Daniel Castro, the shortstop, 23-year-old from Mexico.
Hottest hitter in their lineup right now.
0 for 2 tonight. Twice he is grounded to third. Once it was a spectacular diving play by Rutledge to steal a hit from him. Slicer foul for strike 1. Castro last year made his major league debut. He's a former pitcher in the Mexican League. Runner at first, 1 away. Topper, but a foul ball.
So he's a former pitcher in the Mexican League, and then his buddies ask him, what do you do in the offseason? I play short in the big leagues.
In Atlanta, the Braves.
Yeah,
maybe you've heard of them.
Maybe.
National League franchise, been around a while. Bobby Cox, ever heard of Bobby? No, haven't heard of Bobby Cox?
No.
Former grade manager. Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz. Great teams here.
Ridiculous history.
Too high with a heater.
I was actually a member of the Atlanta Braves for a month in 1992.
So you played for Bobby Cox briefly.
I did.
How was that month?
It was great. It's a great organization. I just didn't really have a place to play. It was the year that Deion Sanders went crazy, made the team out of spring training. They thought they were going to send him back to AAA, but he deserved to be in center field, that's for sure.
1-2 chopper. There's Bogaerts to wait on it. To Pedroia, got one under first and thrown away. That one off of Shaw. Not sure exactly what happened there. Backed up down the line by Vasquez. And so the runner will be held to first base. But what happened on that play at first?
I think Shaw just whiffed on it. This all sets up nicely. Bogey has to wait to get the big hop. Quick transfer from Petey, and then I don't know if that ball took off on Shaw or what, but he didn't really have to stretch that far to get it. It's not over his head. Just missed it.
No error, of course, because you cannot assume a double play, and there was no advance beyond first base by Castro. But a runner on, and the inning ought to be over. And here's Garcia, who has singled and grounded out to short. He punches that one to Pedroia to his right. He'll go to Bogaerts, and that will retire the side.
Great job by Porcello.
And we are still scoreless going to the seventh. Pitching line is brought to you by your Eastern Lexus dealers. He's been really good, Steve. 7 strikeouts, only 3 hits in 6 innings.
Boy, both pitchers outstanding today. Teheran certainly not pitching like the Braves have seen him pitch this year. He's pitching more like the pitcher he has been in the past, and Porcello just continues to be an outstanding starter.
Both starters have allowed only 3 hits. Season high in Ks for Teheran so far. He got Brock Holt the last time. Brock has also taken ball 4. Red Sox have yet to get the leadoff man on in an inning. And the breaking ball settles in for strike 1. Brock became only the 2nd Red Sox player in 100 years last night to record at least 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 sac bunt, 1 sack, fly, and a run, and he pops that one very high to right. Markakis all night to get under. 1 man gone. Time now for a game break, brought to you by Jordan's, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. And here's our man TC. No, TC, we know they can do that. Hit the ball out of the ballpark. Maybe better than anybody in the game over the course of a season. Jackie Bradley takes a fastball outside. He has grounded to third and fly to center. 0-0 in the 7th.
And one of the great things you like about Pedroia on this team and his leadership is he does things differently.
Swinging a high fly ball right field, carrying. Markakis back. Track, wall, gone! Sox lead it 1-0. That was a beautiful swing. Jackie with his first home run of 2016.
Jackie does have a beautiful swing when he doesn't try to get big and long. When he's short and quick to the ball, he's actually more powerful.
Now, last night with a huge single in the 12th inning to bring in what turned out to be the game-winning run, and now a home run for the only run in this one so far in the 7th inning. And that'll send up Christian Vasquez, who has struck out and grounded out. Speedway proud to be New England's first choice for value and convenience. For every Red Sox home run this season, Speedway donates $500 to the Boston Children's Hospital. Stop by a Speedway store near you and pick up your Speedway rewards card and start earning points today. A trickler toward third, but foul. Back to that swing.
Check out location. Pretty much threw that ball right where they wanted it, middle away. And Jackie just goes out and hooks this thing into right and out of the yard.
A lot of Sox fans out there going after that ball too.
And it wasn't like Pierzynski was set up way off on the outer half of the plate. Pretty much put his glove right where Teheran threw that.
It was a picture perfect swing. 1-0 Red Sox. Fouled back by Vasquez. And a man on deck delighted with what he's seeing right now. Finally a run up there for Rick Porcello.
I was about to talk about Pedroia and his leadership on this team and how he handles things. We saw that ball get away from Shaw. Pedroia threw it to him. A lot of guys would come up, pat you on the rear and say, hey, no big deal. It didn't hurt us. We got the next guy out. That's not the way Pedroia does it.
Not exactly his style. Line shot hooked over third. That's fair down the line. Should go for extra bases. Vasquez digging for second. He's in there with a double. Back-to-back extra base hits. Christian Vasquez with a nice night going.
Pedroia does the exact opposite. Pedroia makes you feel better by kind of getting in your face. Look at Shaw coming down the steps right after he missed that ball. Pedroia is probably saying something like to him, what, you don't like it when I throw it right to you? Do you want me to roll it to you next time to make it easier on you?
Maybe even a little spicier.
Yeah, and that's the way, and you walk away feeling like, all right, it's cool. Yeah. Everything's good.
It's kind of like the air's been let out of the balloon,
yeah,
right?
As long as he's on me, he likes me. If he says nothing to me, then I'm in trouble.
Vasquez tearing into a double. That sends out Roger McDowell, their pitching coach.
Well, that's a good swing on a breaking ball right there. Vasquez stayed back on it and then just unleashed.
Rick Porcello, the batter. The bullpen is getting active now for Atlanta. And Porcello may be dropping down a bunt here.
I asked him if he could. He said, we'll see.
He squares and he pops it up, but he got it down. Pierzynski nearly flubbed it, and he did. And everybody's going to be safe. Vasquez holding at second base. So he was not taking off. Miscommunication between Teheran and Brzezinski.
And I think it's okay that Vasquez stood at second base. This is a tough ball to read because it's popped in the air. Vasquez has got a hold because it's popped up. Teheran kind of makes this hard on Brzezinski because he's flying at him. He was coming in hard thinking that he might be able to catch it. That ball's in the air. You can't get doubled off. Hey, you just make the smart decision just to get back to second base. No harm.
Just trying to give himself up, but he has a base hit. That's a single. So first and second, one down, and now Mookie Betts.
Fantastic bunt.
Mookie 1 for 3 with a double. He has been on a string of extra base hits here.
Arquez took about 4 steps back in right field.
That's a strike. Red Sox up 1-0 on a Jackie Bradley home run. And now looking for more. Chris Withrow now throwing in their bullpen, the right-hander. It's the first sign of any crack by Teheran so far tonight. Is he about to break wide open? Hot shot, but foul.
You know, it'll be on that bump play. When you see Vasquez, there's going to be a certain number of people who will say, how do you not get to third on that play? Well, as soon as you see a ball popped up and you already have your lead, you're out there in Nowheresville. If that ball gets caught and he gets doubled off, we're all in trouble. There's no real harm in not sure if that ball is going to drop. I don't know if I can advance. You go back to second base and everything stays safe.
Mookie Betts on fire right now. Teheran with an 0-2. And ran up and in and spun him around.
Well, see if he sticks with the adage in baseball that says if you're going to go up and in, next pitch you go down and away with a breaking ball. See if that's in the back of Mookie's mind.
Mookie last year hit .529 against Braves pitching. And down he goes, elevated at 92, and he strikes out, so they're a 2 away. And here comes Dustin Pedroia.
Just doubled up back-to-back fastballs, 1 in, 1 away.
So far, a quiet night for Pedroia. He has struck out, grounded to second, and flied to right. He has runners at first and second, 2 down. Hitting .309. He had 7 hits in the Houston series. Ball 1. In fact, in that series, both Pedroia and Betts were a home run away from the cycle in 2 different games. And the 2 of them combined for 14 hits in the 3 games.
I'll take it.
Yeah, from your 1 and 2.
That's called setting the table, I think.
Two out, 2 on. And 2-0. And 2 men in the bullpen. O'Flaherty has now joined Withrow in the bullpen for Atlanta.
When you think about the Red Sox offense, you can legitimately say that the middle of the order has not really found its stride yet as far as being really powerful.
Yeah, not yet.
Top of the order and the back half of the order has carried this offense for a while.
Flashes in the middle, but
yeah.
Here's the 2-0. Now 3-0. Xander Bogaerts on deck.
I think Petey's hacking if he likes it.
He's locked in. Vasquez at second. Rick Porcello, who spent some time on the bases tonight, at first base after a bunt single. Let's see if he goes after it, if he likes it on 3-0. He's taken all the way right down the heart. 3-1. Great count for Pedroia. Nothing straight though.
May have swung a ball 4 right there. Nasty slider. A lot of times pitchers will say, if I'm going to throw you a 3-1 slider, I'll throw you a 3-2 slider.
The runners will be off to the races. They'll have a head start with 2 down and a full count. And here comes the 3-2.
Just hooked that one.
Ball 4, and the bases are loaded for Xander Bogaerts. And the Red Sox can bust it open here in the top of the 7th. Teheran will stay out there. Xander is 1 for 3. He dropped a single into right field in the 6th inning and then stole a base. He's also struck out and flied very deep to center field up against the center field fence.
That's a great at bat by Pedroia right there for a couple reasons. Number 1, he works the walk and loads the bases. Number 2, he made Teheran throw a ton of pitches in that at bat this late in the ball game, and that may just have an effect on how he throws the ball to Bogaerts right here. It's probably his last hitter regardless.
2 down, bases are loaded up for the Red Sox. And he'll take strike 1. Now, it's not much of a sample, but Xander has seen Teheran 6 times, and he does have 3 hits off him. 1 career grand slam. Vasquez, Porcello, and Pedroia filling them up. Fouled back to the screen. 0-2. Yeah, you got a pitch to hit.
That was the one he wanted. 107 pitches now. This one right down the middle.
Two strikes on Bogaerts. Bases loaded, 2 down. Red Sox up 1-0. Teheran is on the high wire. He fought that one foul. Still 0-2. Jackie Bradley Jr. with his first home run of the season has put the Red Sox in the lead here as we start to get late. Xander will get time here from Ripperger, the home plate umpire.
For 2 teams that have had struggles through their starters for much of the season, we've seen outstanding efforts on both sides out of Porcello and Teheran today.
0-2 on the way. Got jammed, but once again he fought that one off. Last year Xander Bogaerts had more hits than anybody in baseball with the bases loaded. He had 10. And 6 of them went for extra bases.
He's having a heck of a battle right now. Teheran may have thrown a couple balls up there in this at bat, but the count's 0-2.
You really feel the game is in the balance right here in the 7th inning. No place to put him, all loaded up. Here comes the 0-2 pitch. Wouldn't chase it.
That's a great take right there. I know it's just 1 pitch in this at bat, but a couple years ago that's a ball that Bogey swings at, and he learned how to spit on this pitch and let it go. That's very enticing. It's got a nasty break on it. Teheran was looking for a swing and miss. And I would be very surprised if he doesn't go back to that pitch somewhere in this at bat again.
The righty's 1-2. High High pop foul out of play to the right. Quite a battle going on here. Last night it was Ryan Hanigan in his epic 13 pitch at bat to take ball 4 and load the bases. And now Xander working and working on Julio Teheran. Red Sox with a man at every base. 2 down, leading 1-0. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Pitch number 7 of this at bat. Spoiled again.
Oh, this is fun. Reminds us a little bit of late last night when Hanigan was at the plate facing Giles. A 13 pitch at bat. He fouled off 7 or 8 in a row. Then fouled off a couple nasty sliders. Eked out a walk and then belly flopped home on a pass ball. And caught, what was it, 12 innings. Unbelievable.
Once again, the 1-2. High fly, but foul. Sliced down the line. They'll do it again. Vasquez at third, Porcello at second, and Pedroia at first.
It's the 9th pitch of the at bat here. And I clearly want Bogey to have a good at bat, but I can't understand why Teheran wouldn't go back to that slider.
See if he does here.
Fastball again, away. And Bogey, an outstanding eye.
So this at bat will go at least 10 pitches. This will be his 115th pitch. And a 2-2 to Xander. Line shot center field. Smith there and makes the catch. It was well struck, but no carry. Bases left loaded, but Jackie Bradley gets the Red Sox on the board, and it's 1-0 Boston here in the 7th. Red Sox coverage on SN Sports today. The ruling on Tom Brady's suspension has been overturned. And the Pats quarterback will miss 4 games in the upcoming season. Reaction to the shocking news, plus hear from Celtics coach Brad Stevens. Essence Sports Today, presented by People's United Bank. See what know-how can do. Rick Porcello, first pitch strikes to 17 of 21 batters. And he is tossing a 3-hit shutout into the 7th. And finally, Steve, he has a lead.
And I'll tell you, that plays right into what they were expecting out of him. We know that the bullpen's been beat up a little bit. He knows it too. He knows that he had to go out and attack the strike zone. And that's what he did with those first pitch strikes. And then continuing on with a lot of strikes following up with that.
The Red Sox do have an active bullpen, though. Robbie Ross Jr. will start to get going, the left-hander out there. You talk to Porcello about that, and he says, well, that's my job. My job is to go 7 innings or deeper. So he doesn't make much of it. The Red Sox have left 8 men on base. They just left the bases loaded, hoping that will not come back to haunt here in game 1. Porcello back at it. Brzezinski, Francoeur, and Freeman.
Sometimes the game is just pure fun, even though the guys that you want to have success don't. That was such a fun at-bat with Bogey. Bases loaded. A little excitement there. He hit a bullet. Just didn't get lucky.
Will 1 be enough here in Atlanta tonight?
I can tell you Brzezinski's going to use this at-bat right here to try to tie it up himself.
He has not homered this year. On his 17th major league season. Back in 2014, he appeared in 72 games for the Red Sox before he was traded to St. Louis. And again, his next hit will be career hit number 2,000. Got jammed there. That one came in on the knuckles. Well, from improving your diet to the latest cancer treatments, learn all about stomach disease this month from experts at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Visit bidmc.org/yourhealth. 0-2. Little flare toward left center, coming in Brock Hope, and he will make the catch on a sinking fly for out number 1. They get Jim Johnson throwing. So the big right-hander getting loose. Certainly looks like that man is done. He pitched a heck of a ball game, but
yes, he did.
Right now he's going to lose it. Julio Teheran. Francoeur with a strikeout and a grounder to first base is 0 for 2 tonight. Tried to hold up a swing and a miss.
Francoeur believes that this team can and will turn things around a little bit. He says, look, I didn't think we were going to win 90 games. But he said, look at the schedule we've played so far. We're 4-15, and all we've done is play playoff teams. They opened their season with the Nats. They've played St. Louis. They've played the Dodgers. They've played the Mets. They're going to play us. They're going to play the Mets right after that. They're going to go to the White Sox. All they're doing is playing teams that are outstanding teams.
Not many Atlanta seem to share his optimism that it's going to get better. I think Freddie Gonzalez would tell you that, yeah, it's been a tough run, very, very difficult schedule. He believes it'll get better. But not many in this city think.
Now they have certainly cleaned house in their last few seasons.
Freddie's done a good job here. He's had 3 second-place finishes, a first-place finish, while the skipper. Not an easy thing to manage in a town where Bobby Cox did nothing but win. Porcello with a 1-2. John Schuerholz, who for so long did such a great job as the architect here in Atlanta, no longer runs the show, but has a lot to say about it. He really brought baseball back here. That one hit toward the gap. On the run, Jackie Bradley is going to drop in. He lunges for it. Francoeur wants one, wants another base, and the throw will not get him. He scampers in there with a double. So he found the alley out there in right center field.
It's a great read by Francoeur. He understands that Bradley has a tremendous arm, but he also knows he's running away from the play. Watch this ball hit into the gap, just goes with the pitch. That was a good pitch from Porcello. A good piece of hitting, but Bradley running away from the play. He's got to collect himself and turn around in order to make the throw, and that's why Francoeur continues to go on to second.
$16 doubles last season. That was his first of this season, and brings up Freddie Freeman. There is a base open, and he's 2 for 2 tonight. Red Sox overshift, and that one low for ball 1. 1 man out. So you know that Porcello will be very careful with that base open. A little bit low for a ball that just missed.
Here's a quick example, Dave, of how this organization has changed in just 2 quick seasons. In May of 2014, their starting lineup was Haywood, Upton, Freeman, the other Upton, Gaddis, Johnson, Simmons, Pastornicki, and Aaron Harang was the pitcher.
The 2-0 is outside.
One guy from that lineup is in the lineup today.
Now you can see he's being very, very careful right now with Freeman in this spot. Not giving him anything to swing at yet.
Could be an unintentional intentional walk here. Maybe he swings at a bad pitch.
Now Freeman's 4 for 8 off him. And low for ball 4, so he pretty much put him on.
Yeah.
First and second, 1 out. And here comes John Farrell. With Jace Peterson coming up, a left-hand hitter. He does have Robbie Ross available in the pen. He has not made the move yet.
I like this. I like the fact that they're having a conversation out there. He didn't come out there just to grab him, but now he is.
So that's the call. That's it for Rick Porcello. Another deep outing. He goes into the 7th inning. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Kia. Red Sox ahead 1-0. Ross coming in, and we'll have that for you in just a moment. Six, don't miss Red Sox first pitch, presented by Joseph Abboud, available at Men's Warehouse. TC and Tim Wakefield will be joined by Alex Spear of the Boston Globe to talk about the latest news on Red Sox prospects. So the night is done for Rick Porcello. 99 pitches, striking out 6. He does leave runners at first and second for Ross. No wins or losses for Robbie. So far 9 in the 3rd innings. He's allowed 10 hits. And Drew Stubbs will pinch hit. So they'll bring up a right-handed stick here for Peterson. So a counter move by Freddie Gonzalez. 1 man out. 1-0 Red Sox, and the pitch is inside for a ball.
Calculated thought process by John Farrell. Who did he want matching up? Did he want Porcello in the game against Peterson, or did he want Robbie Ross facing whoever they brought up right-handed?
Fastball pumped in. Francoeur at second, Freeman at first. Porcello going into the 7th. So far just 1 run on the board and a Jackie Bradley home run. Fastball inside. 2-1. The lefty deals. Foul ball, 2-2.
You know, Obi, I think the other greatest factor in whether or not you make a move in that situation from Farrell is you want the guy who's been in the lineup facing the starting pitcher for his 3rd at bat, or do you want a new guy coming into the game facing a guy who's coming off the bench? And we all know how tough pinch hitting is.
Ross trying to put him away. Mallex Smith on deck. 2-2. Ground ball to Pedroia. He bobbles it, flips it, and got the out. The force play. Bogart's a little off balance. They're going to be safe on the corners. And Pedroia with an opportunity to turn 2 there, but mishandled the ground ball and got only 1 out.
Pedroia had to charge that ball hard in order to get a double play. I think it takes a funny hop right there. You see how much higher it bounces up off his chest than what he expected. He was looking for that ball a little bit lower. I think it takes a big hop right there on him that he wasn't expecting. What a great recovery, though, to get 1.
We talked about the state of their infield before the game and how there have been complaints by other clubs. The Red Sox were very aware of those complaints, although the Braves have downplayed them. So now comes Mallex Smith. A lot of complaints about the grass and the uneven nature of it at this time of the year in Atlanta, which the Braves say is nothing new. It happens all the time.
Now, Pedroia will tell you that he just should have made the play. It doesn't matter. But if he thought there was a bad hop, that bad hop would have come out of the dirt and not out of the grass.
So 1st and 3rd, 2 down for Smith, who was grounded out and struck out, hitting just 136, and he'll take a ball down low. 1-0 Red Sox in the 7th. Francoeur at third base. And Stubbs becomes the runner at first. Here's the 1-0 to the 5-9 hitter. 1-1.
Oh.
There's Eric Ibar up there.
Ibar has had a horrendous start to this season after having so many good years in an Angel uniform. He's had trouble defensively, offensively.
1-1 in there for a strike. Right on the corner.
I think Robbie Ross comes with that hard down and in slider to finish him off. Here's this pitch right there, just nipping the outside corner for a strike.
1-2. Little chopper to first base, foul. Kelly Johnson on deck, would hit the pitcher spot. Ibar, the former Angel, spent 10 years with Mike Scioscia. Always been a good contact man. 1-2. Ibar played against the Red Sox in the division series in 3 straight seasons, 07, 08, and 09. Angels finally winning one in 09. And a 2-2 from Ross. Dipping down low, couldn't get him to offer. And the count is full.
Good job, Vasquez, keeping that ball in front of him with a guy on third base. That's the pitch that I thought he might come back with earlier in this count. Now he has to throw a strike.
The tying run is at third, the 3-2 pitch.
Oh,
He got him. He struck him out looking.
that's filthy.
That was a dandy. And Ross pumped up as he leaves the hill. The Red Sox still on top 1-0. Our Crickets something to smile about moment, and certainly a big smile for Ross, but also a bit of a smirk there on the face of Ibar. I'll tell you that. And Porcello loves the effort. John Farrell bringing on the left-hander in that situation, and it worked out.
Well, the smirk from Ibar was the fact that it's completely unfair that you're asking me to try to hit that pitch in that situation.
So on to the 8th inning. Red Sox leading here in Atlanta 1-0. As Ross does his job. Travis Shaw leads off here in the 8th by flaring that one foul. He's gone 0 for 2 of the walk. Jim Johnson is the new pitcher. The towering right-hander at 6'6", 250. He was a longtime Baltimore Oriole. Pitched for the Dodgers a bit last year. A couple of other changes too, as Ibar stays in the game to play shortstop. And Stubbs remains in the game in center field for Atlanta. And a 1-1. Well, the Red Sox bullpen had its ups and downs last night, but a lot of ups. And wound up with a yeoman performance in Houston by and large. Of course, Kimbrel had a tough performance, but Embry was outstanding, and 4 other relievers.
The rest of them dazzled.
After the short outing by Henry Owens. Tagged into left center, and Stubbs right there. He'll make the backhanded catch, one of the changes.
Now, I think it should be mentioned too, the guts and conviction on Ross in order to throw that pitch. You already had guys on first and third.
Ibar, the new shortstop.
If you walk him right there, you're looking at big trouble in a 1-0 game.
And Daniel Castro now over there at second base. First one in there for a called strike on Josh Rutledge, who has gone 1 for 3 with a single. Red Sox ahead 1-0 Jackie Bradley has provided all the scoring with a solo home run in the 7th, his first of the year. That'll be pop foul, back out of play by Rutledge. So it sets up for the Red Sox to go to Koji in the bottom of this inning, and then Kimbrel, who is the all-time saves leader in Atlanta, trying to do it against his former mates. And coming off a blown save.
Of course, as we mentioned earlier, there's very few guys on this team that he even played with.
One, two. Fans, you can help NESN by taking a quick 2-minute survey. Enter for a chance to win a VIP NESN experience at the ballpark on June 16th. Just visit NESN.com/survey during the game right now for your chance to win. We would love to hear from you. You can write Steve personally, and he might respond.
You never know.
Be worth the wait. Just to find out what Steve might say. 2-2, and in there, strike 3. Caught him looking.
Didn't have to be. That's a tough pitch right there.
So 2 down for the Red Sox in the 8th.
Caught the corner.
And now Brock Holt to his walk, struck out and fly to right tonight. Needs a hit to make it a 7-game hitting streak. Red Sox coming back from Houston in the wee hours of the morning. Chop up the middle. Castro to glove and fire. Close, but he got him at first base. And the Red Sox go 1-2-3. We head for the last half of the 8th. Red Sox leading here in Atlanta 1-0. Southwest Airlines, transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. To the bottom of the 8th inning in Atlanta, 1-0. The Sox have the lead. They have out-hit the Braves 6-4. The Braves have committed the only 2 errors. And the only run, Jackie Bradley with a blast on a gorgeous swing, a solo home run. His first home run of 2016, and that's been it. And it is Koji time here in the 8th. Koji Uehara worked last night in Houston. Seemed like everybody did. He went 1 inning, striking out 2. He got credit for a hold. Right now, an ERA I'd like to bring down at 4.32. That is very un-Koji-like at the moment.
Well, when you're a guy who throws 1 inning and you have 1 bad inning, it takes a while to get that back under control. But hoping that's in Koji's past, and he's settled back in again. He got a little bit of rest.
Kelly Johnson will be leading things off. He'll step up as a pinch hitter in the 9 spot. Then it'll be Markakis and Castro. 22,735. You know, these fans are dying to do that tomahawk chop, which was all the rage back in the early 90s. And everybody around town was doing it. There's Ted Turner. Great to see him back. Popped up off the end of the bat, and Pedroia with an easy play in shallow right. 2016 CVS Health Charity Classic features more than the nation's top golfers. Don't miss the Charity Classic benefit concert featuring Grammy award-winning Lady Antebellum at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence, June 28th. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com/Charity Classic Fenway.
So if there's any question whether or not this is a National League game, we just saw 3 straight pinch hitters from the Atlanta Braves.
Is your confirmation.
Something you don't see often in an American League game.
Markakis has flied to left, struck out, and taken ball 4. In his days with the Orioles, he was a pretty good run producer. He twice drove in 100 runs.
That's why it's amazing that he's the leadoff hitter on this club. Not a prototypical leadoff type guy, but this team really struggling to find someone to hit there. And Markakis was struggling as a run producer here.
Sox bullpen trying to preserve a victory for Rick Porcello, and that would make Rick 4-0 on the season. After the best start of his career, it's the first time he had ever taken the mound at Turner Field. Officially, they have Rick with 98 pitches. He's done for the night, but that is ball 4. That's one of the reasons they like him as a leadoff man. Second walk accepted by Nick Markakis. Against his former teammate Koji. They were teammates together with the Orioles.
Yeah. Seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
Sends up Castro's gone 0 for 3. Red Sox leading 1-0 in the last half of the 8th. Castro 3 times has hit the ball on the ground. He'll look at a strike. Koji working last night in Houston for the first time since April 18th against Toronto. The 0-1 pitch. That dipped downstairs.
That's a pitch from Koji that he usually gets a swing and miss out of. It's hard to stay off of. Looks like a good hittable pitch. Bottom falls out of it.
And pumped across for a strike. Came back with a fastball at 86. Right-hander Vizcaino now beginning to loosen. It's been very tough.
That's nothing but a fastball right down the middle. Koji challenging hitters with his 86. And again.
And just blew him away.
He can do that.
2 down.
Gonna climb the ladder just a little bit. Maybe you're thinking split finger in the back of your mind. You don't get it. You can't get this one either.
Well, there's the chop, which will never die. They're moving to a brand new ballpark next year and leaving Turner Field, but the chop will come along. You know that.
It's too bad.
You're not a fan, huh?
Not really. Can't tell you.
Here's Garcia. Adonis Garcia with a bounding ball foul. Well, you should have been here in the 90s, though, when I was here. And
I was.
It took off. Well, I mean, as an Atlanta Brave and a Braves fan, it was really fun to watch.
Certainly in the playoffs when the entire stadium was doing it and they had those foam tomahawks.
I think it probably had its day. I think you're probably right.
It's kind of a cool thing that an organization has something that they can rely on that they know will stand the test of time.
Oh, on a high pop down the right field line, but foul.
Sweet Caroline, dirty water. There are things that endure.
Yeah, there's some classics. It should always stay that way. I'm not so sure that the Rally Monkey in Anaheim comes up to speed for me, but
it was okay for a little bit.
0-2 to count. Popped up. Back goes Bogarts. And Xander there to put it away.
Nice.
The bullpen good. More good work here tonight. It's still 1-0 Red Sox as we go to the ninth. Brought to you by Xfinity. Red Sox in the lead 1-0. Getting starting pitching again from Rick Porcello. 6 1/3, just 4 hits, struck out 6. Jackie Bradley has been the offense with a solo home run. Teheran went 7, threw very well, but he's on the hook right now. Freddie Freeman 2 for 2 with a pair of singles as we go to the 9th inning. And Arodys Vizcaíno, the right-hander, a Tommy John survivor, formerly of the Chicago Cubs, coming out of their bullpen. So far, he's been very good in 6 innings, allowing just 4 hits with 9 Ks. He will walk a man, though. And here's Jackie in the 9th. First pitch, 98 miles an hour.
98 seems commonplace all of a sudden, doesn't it?
Really does. Amazingly. Fouled back by Jackie. A home run back in the 7th inning. That's the difference in the game.
Watch the sweetness of this swing. It's like syrup right
there. Very easy power there generated by JBJ, the 0-2. Up the middle, but that's exactly where they had him shifted. And Ibar will throw on again, and that's the shortstop with the stab. And out number 1. Well, here comes Big Papi out of the dugout. That's how you know how many Red Sox fans are here.
Say, are we in Boston?
David not in the starting lineup tonight. We'll see about tomorrow, but an opportunity to hit after Vasquez.
The amazing thing about the 2-game set here in Atlanta being National League brand baseball, with both Poppy and Hanley sitting out of this one until now with Poppy, that pretty much guarantees that one of those two won't make a start at all here in Atlanta.
The 0-1 flared foul. Vasquez doubled in the 7th inning. He's also grounded out and struck out, and he's thrown out a base stealer. And the 0-2 to the Sox catcher. They have a son or daughter who wants to learn more about baseball or the Red Sox. Just visit NESSENClubhouse.com. Videos, games, and a lot more. It's fun, free, and easy to use. Visit NESSENClubhouse.com today. Trying to hold up. Did he go? He did. And that is strike 3. Joe West rings him up. So 2 down in the 9th. Red Sox had 1-0, and here comes David Ortiz as a pinch hitter. And all the cameras coming out. David making his final trip to Atlanta. Certainly not going out like a lamb since last June 11th. Only Bryce Harper has a higher slugging percentage. Went for the downs, and it's strike 1. This is power against power.
Yes.
The 0-1 from Vizcaíno. 99 on the gun.
Vizcaíno does have that off-speed breaking ball. Does he try to spin Poppy into the ground with one of those, or does he say, let's go? I'm going to challenge you one more time with my 98.
Kimbrel getting ready. The 0-2. Kimbrel became a star right here in Atlanta as the Braves closer. You know, after last night, after what happened in Houston, he's dying to get in there on this mound. One and 2 on Ortiz. Swing and a miss, and down he goes. That was not the fastball. Dropped it in there at 88. We go to the bottom of the 9th. 1-0 Red Sox. Sox Game Day Live presented by DCU. TC and Tim Wakefield preview David Price's start tomorrow against the Braves. DCU Digital Federal Credit Union. What can DCU save you? Well, Craig Kimbrel is on to try and lock this one up. He could not do it last night in Houston as he gave up the 2-run homer to Rasmus with 2 down in the 9th inning. And the game eventually went to 12 and the Red Sox would win it, but that was a blown save.
Take a look at that one from last night.
Right back on the hill in his old stomping grounds here tonight. So a quick turnaround for the right-hander from Alabama. A.J. Pierzynski will bat first here in the bottom of the 9th. And he fouls it away for strike 1. First one at 98 on the radar gun. A.J. tonight 0 for 3. Red Sox ahead 1-0.
Teams that think they are championship caliber don't sign closers just to finish off games. They sign closers to go through the opposing team's middle of the order to close down games.
That's the case right here. Late cut, lofted foul out of play, and Kimbrel is up 0-2 on A.J. Pierzynski. Next man in will be Jeff Francoeur and then Freddie Freeman. You may argue they're 3 best hitters
right now.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. He got him. He puts him away for out number 1. Eventually the tag on the strikeout, so 1 man gone.
Vasquez probably doesn't even remember the playoff game where Pierzynski stole an out when they didn't tag him and he ran down to first base and they called him safe. But Vasquez ran up the line and tagged him anyway to make sure that there were no problems.
Here's Francoeur. He is 1 for 3 with a double. He has not homered this season. Red Sox leading it 1-0 in the bottom of the 9th inning. That'll be ball 1. Right now the win goes to Rick Porcello. That's up to Kimbrel. A strike.
So you look at that pitch right there to Francoeur and you say it's virtually unhittable, and that's not far off of the pitch that both Davis and Rasmus hit. But you're talking about throwing that same pitch to different hitters. Left-handed hitters love the ball down.
Ground ball to the shortstop. Bogaerts hoovers it and gets him. 2 down.
Well, people complained a lot about the location of the pitch that Kimbrel threw to both of those hitters, but it was just the fact of the hitters that he threw it to, kind of right into their wheelhouse.
2 down, bases empty, and Freeman will be the batter. Freeman with 2 singles, one of them a bunt hit. He's also taken ball 4. Into the dirt. He thinks he got hit. He wants them to appeal here. Freeman says he got hit by the pitch on the foot or on the leg. And Freddie Gonzalez is appealing to the video room right now to see if they should challenge this.
Hard to tell from that view. Yeah, I think it did hit him right on the foot.
They are going to take a look at it. So this play is now under review.
And Freeman's already headed down to first base because he's pretty sure it hit him off the foot, and he's standing down there.
So this is the first review we've had tonight, first challenge of any kind. Red Sox ahead 1-0 with 2 down in the bottom of the 9th inning. Kimbrel, the all-time saves leader for the Atlanta Braves, trying to pick up his 6th save of the season. Let's see what they come back with on this. Atlanta trying to get a base runner representing the tying run.
We have seen the ability of Kimbrel to be a little bit wild at times coming in the situation. Does throw a lot of pitches. It's Freeman saying, look, it hit me right there. I mean, he's already down at first base. They haven't made a call that it hit him. He's standing on first base because he knows it did.
That's right. There was no call by the umpire.
No.
In other words, the umpire did not see him get hit.
Right. He called that pitch a ball. Right. Initially, they're looking to see if it did hit him. Freeman knows that it did, so he's already hanging out down at first.
Did take a strange bounce. So in the replay review center, they are taking a long look here.
This would be kind of funny if they say, nope, didn't hit you. Come on back and hit.
Which could well happen if there's not evidence to suggest it did. Because they would have to overturn a call, which was a ball in the dirt. But it did appear to change direction as if it hit his toe.
Changed direction right past Vasquez's glove.
In the meantime, Kimbrel throwing some warm-up tosses. Red Sox ahead 1-0 and a Jackie Bradley Jr. home run. That is the difference in the game, which came in the 7th inning off Julio Teheran. Rick Porcello pitched very well again. He's on the verge of going to 4-0 on the season. The Red Sox certainly sleep deprived, getting here to Atlanta at 5:30 in the morning. A lot of guys were at the ballpark by noontime, and now they have an answer, and they're going to bring it back.
Bringing him back.
He was not hit by the pitch. Joe West says, "Come on back."
Freeman is going to go a little crazy about this. I don't know. He's not too upset, but he's definitely coming back to the plate. Wow.
So no base runner.
That replay system certainly works well, doesn't it? Watch it. Goes past Vasquez, hits the umpire.
Took 2 minutes and 19 seconds to come back with no hit batsman. So nothing going right these days for Freddie Gonzalez in Atlanta.
Oh.
They have the worst record in the majors, and the Sox are trying to add to it. Bases empty, 2 down. Here comes the 1-0 pitch. And a strike.
I would think if you're Freddie Freeman, though, in this situation, you're the one guy on this team that would want a bat in your hands. I would probably say, no, that didn't hit me. I'm going to try to hit. I'm the only guy here that might be able to do some damage against Kimbrel.
And again, it's so hard for them to even get base runners. It represents the tying run if he's on base. He can talk his way into it. He couldn't. Slicer foul back to the screen, and it's 1-2.
Well, I think if you're Freddie Freeman, you believe you're the tying run standing right where he is right now.
He has one of their handful of home runs. So Kimbrel is on the verge of locking it up here. With a victory, the Red Sox will have a winning record. And here comes the 1-2 to Freeman. 2-2.
Freeman hit a home run on opening day. He's not had one since. The entire Braves team have only had 2 since.
The 2-2. Swing and a miss, and this one is over. The Red Sox have won it. And they win it 1-0 on a Jackie Bradley Jr. home run. And Kimbrel gets right back to work and picks up his 6th save here tonight. The victory to Rick Porcello, who is now 4-0. And the Red Sox might have been weary, but in the end, they were better than the Atlanta Braves in a 1-0 victory. Kimbrel was save number 6. 1-0. The Red Sox knock off the Braves TC here tonight in Atlanta.